Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you haven't seen last week's video, I would encourage you to watch that one first and then come back to this one. Last week we looked at contractions with the verbs to be, to do and to have. And this week we are going to focus on contractions with modal verbs. If you have any video requests, please do comment them below, and now let's get on to the video. I'll begin with the modal verbs would and will, because these have both positive and negative contractions. These are the positive contractions. I will, I'll. You will, you'll. He, she, it will. He'll, she'll, it'll. We will, we'll, and they will, they'll. I would, I'd. You would, you'd. He, she, it would. He'd, she'd, it'd. We would, we'd, and they would, they'd. You may have noticed that the positive contractions for would look the same as the ones for had that we saw last week. So how do we know if the contraction represents had or would? Would is followed by an infinitive, I'd leave, or by a present perfect, I'd have left. Had is followed by a past participle, I'd left. Moving on now to the negative contractions of would and will. For would, we contract the verb and not. I would not, I wouldn't. You would not, you wouldn't. He, she, it would not. He wouldn't, she wouldn't, it wouldn't. We would not, we wouldn't, and they would not, they wouldn't. For will, we also contract the verb and not, but it does look a little bit different from how you might expect it to. I will not, I won't. You will not, you won't. He, she, it will not. He won't, she won't, it won't. We will not, we won't, and they will not, they won't. Now we will look at the modal verbs which only have negative contractions. Can. For can, I can not is a contraction in itself because we push the words together to read I cannot. I cannot, I can't. You cannot, you can't. He, she, it cannot. He can't. She can't, it can't. We cannot, we can't, and they cannot, they can't. Could. I could not, I couldn't. You could not, you couldn't. He, she, it could not. He couldn't, she couldn't. It couldn't. We could not. We couldn't. And they could not. They couldn't. Might. I might not. I mightn't. You might not. You mightn't. He, she, it might not. He mightn't. She mightn't. It mightn't. We might not, we mightn't, and they might not, they mightn't. Must. I must not, I mustn't. You must not, you mustn't. He, she, it must not. He mustn't, she mustn't, it mustn't. We must not, we mustn't. And they must not, they mustn't. Should. I should not, I shouldn't. You should not, you shouldn't. He, she, it should not. He shouldn't, she shouldn't, it shouldn't. We should not, we shouldn't, and they should not, they shouldn't. Moving on now to three that aren't used very often. Shall. I shall not, I shan't. You shall not, you shan't. He, she, it shall not. He shan't, she shan't, it shan't. We shall not, we shan't, and they shall not, they shan't. Ought. I ought not, I oughtn't. You ought not, you oughtn't. He, she, it ought not. He oughtn't, she oughtn't, it oughtn't. We ought not, we oughtn't. And they ought not, they oughtn't. May. I may not, I mayn't. You may not, you mayn't. He, she, it may not. He mayn't, she mayn't, it mayn't. We may not, we mayn't. And they may not, they mayn't. To help you understand the difference, I have written a short piece of text with contractions and the same piece of text without the contractions. Have a listen. I've just been to the shops, which isn't that unusual for me because I'm a bit of a shopaholic. However, I can't stand shops at Christmas. They are filled with people and there's not enough space for everyone. Today was really bad. They didn't have any vegetables at all. If they're not careful, they'll run out of everything. And then what'll we do? I didn't buy much because I couldn't find several of the items on my list. If I were you, I wouldn't go shopping at the weekend. I'd go during the week. Can you spot the contractions? There should be 14, but 2 are repetitions. If you pause the video now, you can take some time to find them. Well done, everyone. The contractions are I've, isn't, I'm, can't, they're, theirs, didn't, they're, they'll, what'll, didn't, wouldn't, couldn't, and I'd. Now are you able to separate those contractions into positive ones and negative ones? Again, if you pause the video here, you can have a think. Well done, everyone. The positive contractions are I've, I'm, they're, theirs, they'll, what'll, and I'd. And the negative contractions are isn't, can't, didn't, couldn't, and wouldn't. I will now read you the same text without the contractions. I have just been to the shops, which is not that unusual for me, because I am a bit of a shopaholic. However, I cannot stand shops at Christmas. They are filled with people, and there is not enough space for everyone. Today was really bad. They did not have any vegetables at all. If they are not careful, they will run out of everything. And then what will we do? I did not buy much today because I could not find several of the items on my list. If I were you, I would not go shopping at the weekend. I would go during the week. This version is longer and sounds a bit less natural. To finish the lesson, we will briefly look at the contracted forms of some phrases. Going to, gonna. Got to, gotta. Want to, wanna. Let me, lemme. Give me, gimme. Kind of, kinda. And what are you? Watcher. These are far more informal than the contractions we have used throughout this lesson. So they tend to be used by people when texting or talking to friends, for instance. It is sometimes referred to as sloppy English, so I wouldn't recommend using it in formal situations. Let me borrow your pen. Gimme that back. I'm gonna sit with Jess later. I'm kinda upset about it. What you doing? Do you want to go for coffee now? I gotta go to school now. One final piece of advice. Don't confuse abbreviations and contractions. Mr. is short for Mr., which is an abbreviation, not a contraction, because it is not two words combined to make one. Okay, thank you so much for joining. If you have any video requests, please do comment them down below and have a lovely weekend. Bye!